9 p.m. It is about that time. So let's go ahead and meet lying down. If you're just joining us just now, our practice is going to be mainly on our back and either side of our body laying down. This is a great opportunity to practice in bed or somewhere where there's lots of cushion for the hips. Because we're going to be laying on our side, it might be nice to have a firm pillow or a rolled up blanket to lay your head on so that you're not laying your head on your arm. And when you have what you need and you found your spot, go ahead and meet me on your back, knees bent, pads of the feet planted. On the floor, on the mat, on the bed. We start practice tonight by grounding and centering the body. This also helps to downregulate our nervous system, to help start to bring ease to a busy mind and maybe a busy or aching and tired body. So as you make your way onto your back, finding an easy, natural breath, you might start to notice the portions of your body that are pressed down into the earth or the mattress. Take a moment to explore the back side of your body. Maybe you feel the weight of your head nestled down, the pressure of your shoulder blades. As you release any effort in the shoulders, let the heart center soften and melt open here. You might notice where along the mid and low back you feel the weight of your body pressed down. How far down your spine can you feel the gentle weight of your body? Can you track it all the way down to the low back? Maybe a little further down towards the sacrum and the tailbone. Let your awareness now travel into the pads of your feet. As your knees track towards the sky, letting the weight of the legs gently press down through the pads of the feet. Noticing how that gentle pressure feels. The whole body at ease here, being cradled and held. From here, start to notice your natural breath in your body. It's a beautiful thing, the body breathing all by itself. Knowing that whether you intend it or not, the breath continues in and out, in and out. The body constantly expanding and releasing. Expanding and releasing your gentle, natural breath. Now begin to deepen your natural breath. See if you can send it down into the belly and fill the belly up. Then the lungs. Feel the whole cavity of your torso fill with air and then slowly release. Start to exhale. Inhaling again, sending the breath first down into the belly, filling the belly up, and then filling the heart and lungs, feeling things rise and stretch. And then exhale, release the breath from your body. Let it trickle out nice and slow. Continue these deep, full breaths. Feeling with each inhale, the rib cage expand and stretch. And then as you exhale, the heart center melts as the rib cage gently contracts and settles. How much there is to explore with the breath alone. We practice taking these deep body breaths because our natural breath so often never fills the bottom third of our lungs. 33% of our lungs on average unused throughout the course of a day. So we take time to breathe deep, to utilize the full capacity of our lung tissue, to saturate our blood with that rich oxygen. And then through these deep breaths into the belly and the chest, we're stimulating the vagal nerves, which brings ease to the nervous system, pulling us out of that fight, flight, or freeze space and gently into embodiment, into rest, into digest, into healing. How powerful are our deep, slow breaths. All right. On an inhale, let's find some movement wherever the hands are. Begin to stretch them up overhead, really pressing through the fingertips. And then we're slowly going to lower the hands above our head until the backs of our hands meet the earth. Notice how the front of the body opens up when you do this. Just naturally, we bring an opening. You might start to bend the elbows, let them travel down to either side in what I call goalpost arms or goddess arms. And then let the arms settle open, palms skyward, elbows bent towards 90 degrees if that feels good. And notice how it further opens up the heart. Take a deep breath into the lungs, feel the heart center rise and expand with that breath. And then as you exhale, let the heart center melt along with the shoulders and the shoulder blades. Now, once more, let your awareness travel down into the low back. Acknowledge where in the low back you feel your torso, the weight of your body settled. Oftentimes, it's this place just above the sacrum. The sacrum is just above your tailbone. So it goes tailbone, sacrum, low back. And when we lay here with our knees bent, pads of the feet planted, what we often feel is the low back nestled into the earth. So acknowledging that gentle sensation, just of that nestled, effortless pressure in the low back. And then we'll begin to press the weight of our body into the pads of our feet. And as you press down into the pads of your feet, notice the tailbone start to lift and curl up towards the belly button. And you'll press down only so far as to feel the pressure from the low back rise up into the mid back as that tailbone curls up. So we're not lifting our hips up off the ground. We're not putting in a ton of effort. We're just rolling the pelvis up, allowing the pressure to shift from the low back up to the mid back. And then keeping that pressure, you might start to soften through the back of your neck. Soften and let it lengthen. And as the back of the neck lengthens, we'll gently press the back of the neck down towards the mattress or the earth. As you do this, the chin naturally wants to tuck towards the chest or heart. Let it. We're not going to artificially tuck the chin. We're just lengthening through the back of the neck here. Gently pressing the back of the neck down into the mat or mattress while we press down gently through the pads of the feet. See if you can bring ease to the jaw, separating the teeth slightly, letting the tongue float in your mouth here. And then release all effort from the low back, from the neck. Let the body settle into effortlessness. Part of our somatic yoga practice, building awareness in the body, releasing tension, comes from the practice of letting go. So for as much as we find ourselves holding these postures, this gentle effort, the letting go of that effort is every bit as important. So we'll reverse this motion, and instead of pressing through the feet and curling the tailbone up, we're going to find an arch in the low back. And notice as you start to arch the low back and just the low back, that the pressure moves from the low back down into the sacrum and then finally down into the tailbone. And as you gently hold this arch in the low back, right? We don't want to cause pain. We don't want to cause discomfort. So knowing that you can ease out of this just slightly at any point, finding an arch in the low back that you can hold with some ease here. And then breathe deep into the belly. Send your breath down into the low belly. Notice how much easier it is to send your breath into the low belly when you have this arch in the low back. Take one more deep breath, sending it down into the belly, filling the belly all the way up. And then as you exhale, let all effort melt from the body. The low back settles back down into the earth. Beautiful. Again, scanning the body for any areas where we might be holding on to effort, finding ourselves here melting completely from head to toe. And then when you're ready, pressing into the pads of the feet, once more feeling the pressure from the low back travel up to the mid back as we gently curl the tailbone up towards the belly button and hold. If you know you'd already like to, you might lengthen through the back of the neck, gently tucking the chin or allowing the chin to tuck towards the chest. We're not putting a ton of pressure into the neck, just enough to feel it elongate here. And then continue to breathe. Oftentimes, when we're learning new things and it takes concentration, our breath starts to shallow or we hold it. So notice if there's any ease you can bring to your breath or the belly here as you continue to press gently through the pads of the feet, feeling the pelvis curl up. As you continue to gently press length into the back of the neck, feeling the chin gently tuck towards the heart. On an exhale, release all effort. Once again, we melt into effortlessness. The work that we're doing here, deeply releasing the muscles in the hips and the low back. Once more on an inhale, find that low back arch. Feel the pressure in the back travel down from the low back to the sacrum to the tailbone as you keep that gentle low back arch. You keep the pressure of the tailbone pressing down into the earth. Breathe deep into the belly here. And if your arms are spread out in goalpost, you might notice that your shoulder blades or the back of your head are pressed a little more firmly into the earth here as you find this arch in the low back. Breathing into the belly. So often we've been led to believe that to release trauma in the hips, to release tension in the hips, and let me tell you, the hips are the first place to store it. To release tension, to release trauma, that we have to find these deep, deep stretches or these really intense postures. And it turns out that what we're learning through modern somatics, modern science, is that there is more release in the gentleness. There's more release in effortful awareness than there is in finding the depths or intensity of any posture or stretch. On an exhale, release all effort. Let the low back melt. Beautiful. We're going to bring some love to the low back. It's done a lot of work, the pelvic area, the low spine, flexion and extension. Let's keeping the feet planted and we'll rock the knees to either side. Now you'll come up on the blade edges of your feet as you do this, but this is a gentle way to loosen through the hips. Just let the knees flop. Releasing as much control from this area of the body as feels safe and good. Noting that we're not here to explore pain or intensity of sensation, that we're here to bring strength and release through gentleness and slowness. Beautiful. Let's take a twist before we move on to our side body. So from here, you might draw your knees up into your chest. You might simply walk your heels up towards your glutes. Wherever you are, bring your knees together. So if your feet are planted and your heels are walked up towards your glutes, bring the knees together. If you've got your knees up in towards the chest, it might look like this. From wherever you are, you're going to let your legs roll over to the right, as much or as little as they would like. And then once you settle down into this twist, you might tee your arms out wide, letting that left shoulder blade really melt down. And for some people, teeing the arms out feels excellent. And for others, this can be a hard move for the rotator cuff. So to help this, find a bend in the elbows and then plant the hands back on the torso. And I like to do it around my upper rib cage and belly, just bringing relief to the shoulders here. And then once you find an ease in the shoulders, start to relax through the belly, releasing all effort here. You might even send your next inhale down into the belly, fill it up, feel it expand. And then as you exhale, release effort from the belly and the low back. Let the legs release all effort. If they shift, if the feet slide, let them slide. Take a moment to sink into the effortlessness of this twist. Continuing to send your breaths deep down into the belly. Each inhale expanding and stretching. Each exhale releasing any effort in the belly and the low back. Beautiful. From here, we'll roll back onto our back. And whether feet are planted or whether knees are towards the chest, again, find that rock towards the left and the right. Give that gentle low back massage, and then we'll find this twist on the opposite side of the body. So again, knees come together. We're either walking the heels up towards the glutes or pulling our knees up towards our chest, bracing where it feels good. And then from here, letting the knees fall over to the left, teeing the arms out wide, finding the bend in the elbows and planting the palms if that feels good. And then start to nestle down into this posture. Notice where you're holding tension. Maybe in the shoulders as you invite them to melt down towards the earth. Maybe in the belly and the hips. Oftentimes I find that I am clenching my thighs or pressing my knees together, when what I really want to do is simply let go of all effort. Let the twist be messy in your body. Know that we're not here for perfection in these shapes we're making. We're here to explore deep sensation, to engage these muscles, to get to know them as they are engaged, and then to release them and get to know them as they're released. Continuing, if you would like, to send those breaths deep down into the low belly. Each exhale, allowing the body to melt, maybe the low spine, maybe the shoulders, maybe it's your neck and jaw as your tongue floats in your mouth. And then when you're ready, roll back onto your back. We're going to find our way onto our right side body in a field position. So rolling onto your side body, there are a few ways to do this. You might roll onto your side body and then lay your head on your upper arm. This is a perfectly all right way to be. But because we're going to be spending about 10 minutes on either side of the body, 8 minutes or so, we want to make sure that our arm doesn't go numb, that our shoulder isn't aching. So if you'd like to grab a pillow, a firm pillow, or a rolled up blanket to place underneath that right ear, you're going to extend the right arm out away from the body and then rest that right ear down. From here, we're going to bend the knees up towards the body about 90 degrees. So finding this 90-degree angle with the knees here, and then a 90-degree angle between the torso and the hips. And then this top left arm, we're just going to extend down by our side and rest it there. So it's going to allow for some feedback in the hips. We're going to focus on the muscles in our hips and our low back. This is one of my favorite moves to do for low back pain. And what we are finding through studies and what we don't talk about enough is that chronic stress causes chronic low back pain. You don't even have to have an injury to have low back pain. And so often, especially if you're in a fat body, we're told that it's from a weak core, that we're not holding our core in enough. And studies are showing that, yes, having strength in your core is important, but having core strength doesn't matter if your hips are bound up so tight that your pain is simply coming from the tightness in your hips and not the weakness in your core. So we focus first on the hips and the low back releasing, and then we focus on strengthening. So tonight is all about the release. And we're going to focus on the piriformis muscle. It's one of these big muscles underneath the glutes that attaches the low vertebra of the spine to the outside of the femur. Oftentimes when we experience glute and outside hip pain, it's the piriformis that is responsible for that. So moving the piriformis, this lateral movement, what we're going to do is right now, acknowledge your knee placement. We want one knee stacked on top of the other, one foot stacked on top of the other if that feels good. And we're going to focus our movement on simply extending the top knee forward over the top of the bottom knee and then pulling that knee backward. So it's like I'm pressing my femur out of my hip socket, lengthening that knee over top the other, and then pulling my femur back into my hip socket as far as it will go. So it's just isolated to this top left hip right here, this movement and this effort in the body. And my hand laying on my hip is really just giving me some feedback. So it feels weird at first, pressing the knee forward and then back. It can take some time to get the hang of this sensation in the body, just isolating the movement to this top left hip. This is the same movement that our hips make when we're walking, or it's supposed to be. For many of us, our hips are too tight to move effectively this way while we're walking. So beautiful, 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 just extending and then contracting. All right. Now go ahead and let the hip settle and rest for a moment. On an inhale, lengthen this top arm up overhead. Feel length along the left side body here. Relax into it for a moment. And then we're going to bend at the elbow and we're going to plant our palm either on the back of our head, or if this is too far open for our rotator cuff, plant your palm on the side of your face and cup your ears so it stays in the same spot. So elbow bent, we're either planting our palm on the side of our face or we're cupping the back of our head. And we're going to focus our gentle movement now on the upper portion of the body. So on an inhale, we want to roll that left elbow gently back towards the wall behind us. We're opening up in the heart center. You might feel this tension from the armpit down the rib cage here. We're stretching the intercostal muscles, so the muscles between our ribs. When we stretch the intercostal muscles, we're also encouraging a deeper breath, encouraging a naturally deeper breath. All right, on an exhale, we're going to roll our elbow forward and imagine now the right side of the body stays where it is, right? All of our effort is happening in this left side of the body as we roll it forward. And I like to imagine that I'm rolling my upper body up like a little Tootsie Roll. So my hips are staying where they are, no effort there. It's just my upper body rolling up. And then on an inhale, roll it back out, open through the shoulder. And you might let this arm hang back, really letting it hang and open, or you might keep this integrity and strength in the joint, especially if you have connective tissue disorder, and simply open up as far as you can while still engaging the muscles along the inside of the armpit and the rib cage. So take a moment, pause as you are open, and let's bring together this top movement, right? This rolling open and close with the movement in our hips, really, really increasing the effectiveness of this release. So with the arm open, right, our heart center rolled slightly towards the ceiling, begin to press that top knee forward. Ooh, and you might notice it doesn't go as far as it used to. Ooh, breathe into the body here. Feel this gentle twist and stretch. And then we'll reverse this movement. So the top part of our body rolls forward like a fruit roll up as our hips, as our femur pulls back into that hip socket. And then reverse the motion nice and slow, pressing forward through that knee as we gently press back through that elbow. And maybe you start to move with your nice, slow inhale and exhale. Maybe you just continue to breathe your natural breath and let the physical movement be slow and juicy. Feeling the stretch as you open all along the left side body before rolling that torso closed again. Pulling that hip socket back. A few more times on this side. And then on an exhale, release that left arm down by your side. We'll roll onto our back for a moment. Planting the pads of the feet once more. Let's find a moment of effortlessness. A moment here, letting your hands rest where they will. Feel the sensations that arise in the low back and hips. Often when we're exploring new muscles, it can feel achy, maybe warm and tingly. Notice where on the body you might be feeling these sensations. Maybe you feel nothing at all. Know that nothing is as valid as an answer as any other one. Notice if you can let the shoulder blades release down into the earth at all. If you can find any ease in the throat and the jaw, letting the head hang heavy. Feeling the weight of your feet in the earth here. And then when you're ready, rolling onto the left side of the body, finding that fetal posture. I'm going to switch sides so you can still see me. And then we're going to start that lateral hip movement. But first, let's reacquaint our side body. All right, finding that support for your head, be it your upper arm or a firm pillow. And then allowing the knees to bend up towards 90. So 90 in the knees, 90 in the hips, or somewhere thereabouts. And then before we find any movement in the body, just acknowledge the left side of your body. Feel the weight of the left side of your body press down into the mattress or mat. Just acknowledge that sensation. We don't have to do anything with it. Just witness it. And then when you're ready, we'll start lateral movement, pressing this top knee, that right knee forward, letting this top hip shift forward, and then pulling that knee back, the hip socket back, before again pressing that knee forward, hip socket presses forward, focusing that movement on this right upper hip here, seeing how slow you can make the transition, pulling that knee back, pulling the hip back, before slowly pressing that knee forward. Noticing as you isolate this movement in the hips, if you can bring ease anywhere else in your physical body. Maybe you're clenching your jaw or tensing your tongue. Maybe your toes are curled or your feet flexed. Just little things to know as we move through this physical practice. When you're ready, rest in stillness here. We're going to sweep that right arm up overhead, grow long on the right side of the body, maybe even press out through the fingertips of that right hand, feeling this length on your side body. Before finding a bend in the elbow, planting the palm on the back of your head or on the side of your head. And then on an inhale, roll open. We're rolling that right shoulder open. Gaze might come towards the ceiling. Your heart wants to turn towards the ceiling. Breathing deep into the heart center as you do this. Deep, deep into the heart center. And then on your next exhale, begin to curl forward. We're rolling up like fruit roll up. And then on an inhale, roll back open. Holding it open, we're going to bring our knee, our hip right into this movement. So with the right shoulder open, the heart open, we'll gently press that right top knee forward, focusing the movement here on the hip, pressing that right hip forward. So the right hip presses forward. We're breathing into the heart center. We're feeling this length along the right side of the body. And then on an exhale, reverse the motion, curling the upper body forward, rolling it up as we press that hip back. Back and forth, nice and slow, inhaling as you open, pressing that hip forward. Exhaling as you roll that hip back, the torso comes forward. Feeling this movement in your body, letting it be slow, knowing that it's okay if it feels weird and unfamiliar, if you lose track over time. The beauty of this practice and what we're learning and what yoga has said for 5,000 years is that to retrain chronic habits, to retrain habitual tension, it takes time and repetition and slowness. It takes meeting ourselves in these places again and again, because maybe the first time feels weird. And the second time you have an aha moment amidst all the weird moving and stretching your body. And each time you show up, there are more ahas and less weirdness. But even the weirdness is beautiful and valuable as a teacher. So we just witness, let the body be as it is. All right, let's find some stillness here. Let's release all effort. Sometimes it can feel good to take an open fist like this and gently hit that outside hip for some relief. All right, Let's roll back onto the back. Let's take stock of what we feel as we bend the knees and plant the pads of the feet. Notice now in the body where you feel sensation. Maybe it's all collected in the low back. All right, from here, we'll lengthen our feet out and we'll end our practice with a similar tool as we did our last laying down practice. For this, if there's anything under your head currently, go ahead and move it aside. If it's a pillow or a blanket, let your head rest down on the mattress or on the floor. From here, firmly plant your heels on the earth. We're going to press through the heels, flexing the toes up towards the heart as we do this, and then resting the heels on the earth. So feeling that strong connection, the heels planted. I'm going to start pumping my toes. And as I pump my toes, I'm going to start relaxing my hips, my belly, my heart center, my shoulders and shoulder blades. I'm going to leave my arms down by my sides, maybe palms up or palms down, whatever way is the most effortless in your body, whichever way brings the most ease. We're just going to lay here, pumping our toes, bouncing, a gentle jiggle to the body here. This is a beautiful way to release full body tension, to bring relaxation and ease, to start interrupting and counteracting chronic tension and anxiety in the body. And then you can continue pumping the toes if you're enjoying this rocking of the body, this shifting of your weight back and forth. Or you might let that jiggle settle and rest down into stillness. Taking a few moments for our final Shavasana. Our final Shavasana is corpse pose. It's time spent in effortlessness in our physical body, in stillness in our physical body, in order to invite our mind towards stillness and effortlessness. So you might scan your body, starting with your eyebrows, your nose, noticing if any tension has snuck up in your lips or your jaw. Maybe in the front of your throat, relaxing and bringing ease to the shoulders and the heart. On your next inhale, fill the belly, let it rise. As you exhale, let the belly melt, release all effort in the hips and the thighs, your knees and your calves. All the way down, you melt into your ankles and your toes. Gently noticing any time the mind gets busy or bored. And compassionately and maybe even playfully, knowing it's just trying to help, invite its awareness back into the sensations of the body, the most prevalent of which is the breath, feeling the body expand and contract with each inhale and exhale. You're welcome to remain here for as long as you like. You're even welcome to end your practice just like this. For me, as the host, we'll take a moment to roll over onto my side body. And you're welcome to join if you feel called to end your practice seated as opposed to laying. But from the side body, again, acknowledging the weight of the body cradled in the mattress or by the earth. And then pressing up into an easy seated posture of your choice, or remaining laying and cozy. But from wherever you are, we'll take some time to end our practice together. As we move through yoga and somatics, we come into deep communion with our physical body. We become deeply aware of the sensations our body feels just by existing and moving, sensations that we can go almost the whole day without ever noticing. This is how we begin to heal the mind-body connection. This is how we begin to find regulation in our nervous system and freedom from chronic tension and stress. So the next time that you are feeling an ache in the low back, take time to lay your body down, to move gently in the ways that we've explored this evening, and to see how this gentle effort and deep release can be powerful, powerful tools. Thank you for practicing with me this evening.